Hey everybody, Chris here from Brutally Honest Gaming. Today we're taking a look at NCSoft and ArenaNet's Guild Wars 2. Well, there's been a lot of hype and a lot of hate on this game since its release. Well, even really before its release. Everyone said it was going to be the WoW killer, it was going to change the way that we played MMOs. It does offer a lot of innovative twists on old MMO ideas. Does it deserve all the praise it gets? Does it deserve a lot of the hate that it gets? We'll take a look. The game starts off with you choosing one of 5 races. No factions here, which we'll discuss later. Since every race has access to every one of the classes, the only thing that's important here is for your story and your appearance. Each of the 8 professions have a very different feel to each one of them. I highly recommend checking out a few of them before settling on just one. The game then allows for some very elaborate character customization in which you can change all sorts of features. In fact, almost too many features. The player then makes choices that will decide their starting armor as well as some points through their starting story. And then away we go. After a short cutscene, we're dropped off into our starting story, which depends on your race.
My duties are more technical than physical.
Throughout the game, the player's story is developed through these cutscenes in which stories are told and the player is made to make decisions that affect the player's outcome. Would you prefer to fight the stronghold head-on, sneak around the back door, or perhaps steal a key from a smaller outpost? The choice is yours. The game quickly introduces the player then to events in which the player must group with others to participate in some type of activity, whether it be killing things, collecting things, or a combination thereof, usually culminating in some sort of final battle boss situation, which does require multiple players to become involved. The bulk of the game consists of the player going around the map looking for hearts to complete a version of quests. This was probably the biggest hype of this game. It was no longer the traditional idea of going to the quest giver, completing the quest, coming back. Just get near, and as you see it pops up, you can complete many different things. You don't no longer need to kill 10 of these, bring me 20 of these. You can kill 5 of these, bring me 10 of these. While some of these things to do are interesting little mini games, most of them do tend to be the traditional kill these guys, collect these things. And as you're running around doing those hearts, events will pop up, which you should of course take part in, because that is where the bulk of the XP and karma points, etc. actually come from. Probably one of the biggest changes in mechanics is the fact that your weapons level. As you use them to defeat enemies, you'll unlock new abilities. These abilities change depending on which weapon you have equipped. The action bars on the right will unlock as you level and are used for slot skills. Slot skills are then purchased and assigned to a hotbar. Slot skill points are earned by skill challenges throughout the map, as well as leveling beyond the max level. Another aspect of character customization are trait points. As the character levels, they will then gain these points that can be spent in one of 5 trees. For every point spent, the character will gain a passive stat bonus, and for every 5 points spent in that tree, they can gain a specific ability that fits their playstyle. Another interesting aspect of this game is that the mailbox and auction house can be accessed from anywhere. You can sell your items on the go, or even buy new ones. You can buy them for the price as listed, or make a custom offer for the price that you're willing to pay for as many as you like. Of course, you will need to visit an NPC in order to pick up your gold and items you've purchased. The game also introduces a new twist on crafting, in which crafting gives generous XP, and being able to also use ingredients as they're still in the bank. Another twist on crafting is of course the discovery panel, a sort of mini-game lottery of sorts in which you mash up ingredients trying to find the perfect recipe. The most talked about part of this game was probably the combat system, the fact that it did away with the quote-unquote holy trinity of healer, tank, DPS. With the dodge mechanics and everyone having the ability to heal, it somewhat turns into an every-man for themselves situation. The idea of combat is to trigger off combos with those around you. When your health reaches 0, a new mini-game of downstate appears in which you can heal and fight back until you are back on your feet, or outright defeated. As mentioned earlier, with there being no factions, there really is no open world PvP. Instead, the game separates PvP into 2 separate instance areas, World vs. World and Hearts of the Mist. In World vs. World, server-wide bonuses can be gained as your realm does battle against 2 other realms as they try to take and keep a series of points along the map, which of course consist of finding the group, sticking with the group, and hoping the group knows what it's doing. You run around the map trying to take a series of keeps, which can be done by building siege devices. Unfortunately, most teams rely on sneaking up on the enemy and waiting for their team to have the advantage in numbers. In fact, most teams will encourage retreat when numbers are not to their advantage. This, in my opinion, leads to very boring gameplay, in which most of your time is spent running around the map, either looking for the person who paid for his commander status to tell you what to do, or running around with him doing what he tells you. This structure, as well as the rinse-repeat action, puts one in mind of Warhammer Online, which of course got very boring very fast. Then there's the Heart of the Mist, a completely separate part of the game that is focused entirely on PvP. Unlike World vs. World, which merely scales your level and equipment, Heart of the Mist tries to even the playing field by giving you access to all of the weapons, all of the sigils, all of the armor, all of the traits, all of the skills, puts everyone on an even playing field. After gearing and speccing the way they wish, the player may then join a match. Most matches consist of the traditional capture and hold idea many of us have become accustomed to. With a max team size of 8, the player's individual effort feels much more realized. Unlike World vs. World, in which the player often feels they are a shadow in the crowd. While I do find Heart of the Mist to be much more fun than World vs. World, it does have a few points where it fails to deliver. At first glance, the ability to use any piece of equipment seems like a great idea, except it breaks away with the traditional RPG idea in which you feel invested with your character, the time that you've spent to get the piece of gear. It's almost a separate game entirely, in that anything you gain in Heart of the Mist can't be used in Tyria, and vice versa. That being said, I know there are plenty of people who are still at level 1 and have been in the Heart of the Mists since launch. So, is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? I guess that really depends on you. As you can see from the World vs. World videos, there are still plenty of people playing this game. This is 8 months into release, and on a Monday morning. The game of course has no subscription fee, which means it also has no demo. You either cough up the $60 and get to play for life, or you don't get to play at all. The lack of a subscription fee certainly accounts for the number of players who continue to log in. The question it offers, however, is how long can the game sustain without that monthly income to create new content? To offset this loss of income, the game has created the Gem Store, which allows a player to spend real-world cash on gems. But to be honest, none of the items felt like anything I wanted to pull my wallet out for. The game in a way also feels to be targeted towards the casual MMO player. It proudly breaks away from the traditional MMO grinding, and consequently has an endgame that feels lacking. A lot of your time at endgame will be spent doing annoying jump puzzles, as well as going back to areas you might have missed in the past, trying to complete the area. In the end, I will agree that this game did break a lot of ground, and that many of its features will be seen in most future MMOs. But all in all, I think Guild Wars 2 is much more of a time killer than a time sink.